y dos pacos.
All right, so we heard two of y'all introduce yourselves. I say y'all from South Carolina, my bad. I heard two of you all introduce yourselves. I can get everyone else filling the gaps. Ruben, correct? Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, no, my name is Ruben Ahedo, Managing Director of Freightwell Logistics, transportation and logistics company based here in El Paso. We do operate in Mexico, the U.S., and Canada.
Perfect. Victor?
I'm Victor. I'm the director of the Supply Chain Center at New Mexico State University.
And then Jose?
José Ochoa, I'm the co-founder of Global Containers and Custom Packaging, a packaging distribution and logistics company here in El Paso.
Okay, before I let you gentlemen take it away, can you tell me just one thing you like to do, one hobby, something you like to do in your spare time?
Run.
Run.
Exercise.
Hey, keep this in mind. Listen to that. Run, right? What do you like to do, sir?
Mountain bike.
Mountain biking. You, sir?
Lift weights.
Lift. Oh my God. You, sir?
I play with my dog.
Okay, we have a dog. What about you?
Cigars.
Cigars. And if you see this, we got all the runners and the people over here, and they got some more chill. Everybody here, somebody for all of us.
I'm the bad boy.
And our moderator, of course, is going to be Marco from AizenFlow's.
Hello.
So please, everyone, please think of some questions that you have. These are the people we really want to focus on and give them the energy. Please, take it away.
Okay, so these guys, they're not magicians. They can't read into the future, unless I missed that in the bio. But they're very, very successful people. They're very smart. So we're gonna get their insights, and if there's time, we can ask them questions at the end. So the first question is gonna be for all of you. Here, we're gonna go one by one. Are you optimistic or pessimistic on the freight industry right now? Duane?
First of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and good to see some people I haven't seen in a while. I'm definitely optimistic. I think when you look over for our business in our region, when you look over to Mexico and you see the amount of construction going on, you see the new plants moving in, you see just there's a lot of activity, which tells us at some point in the near future that all the stress we're going through now is going to be rewarded as long as we hold on to the other end. So I would say I'm definitely optimistic.
Cool.
I share your feelings, but in the short run, I feel a little bit pessimistic. I don't think we've hit rock bottom in terms of rates, but in the medium to long term, I do feel optimistic for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Please.
That's kind of a loaded question, right? I mean, and I kind of share the same feelings. I feel optimistic in the sense that we're gonna get through this. I mean, the freight industry always gets through whatever challenges. Freight is not gonna go anywhere. 80% of stuff gets moved or gets transported by a truck. Now, I feel a little bit pessimistic because there's some companies that, there was a lot of companies that flooded the market. Some of those companies actually are going away. And I do think that things will stabilize mid 2024. But for the short term, there's steps to be taken, right? So it's kind of a loaded question with a loaded answer. So that's my take.
So my job is to look into the future. That's my job. And the great thing about being a professor is that my wallet is not in the mix. So I get to sit and relax. I'm very optimistic. Very, very optimistic. Now there's gonna be some casualties. Some of you are gonna die. That's just the way it is. But in the next 5-10 years, this area is gonna be booming. We are very, very optimistic. Nearshoring is gonna be amazing for this part of the country. I spent a lot of time in Juarez. I talked to a lot of companies on the other side. I travel a lot across the world asking who's coming, who's not coming, why they're coming, why they're not. And I'm very, very optimistic. But things are gonna change in ways that freight people don't even know. The space industry is gonna take over a little bit of this piece of the pie. So I'm very, very optimistic. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, I feel the same. I feel it's going to be good, but also it's going to be very challenging for small business owners, right? Because it's a different game. I mean, big corporations than small business owners. Small business owners is more challenging. The way I see it is that when you are running a small business, compared to a corporation. A corporation, if you make a bad decision, it takes months to hit you, right? Or even maybe years. When a small business environment, it hits you in 2 hours, right? I mean, you can die immediately with a bad call. So I believe it's going to be good, but also it needs a lot of attention from us as small business owners.
Thank you, guys. So now we'll do questions specific to, because you guys gave me these questions. So to start off, Luis, given your expertise in optimizing revenue through data-driven decisions, what strategies do you suggest freight brokers employ to navigate these challenges efficiently?
All right. So freight brokers, so freight brokers, I mean, my expertise is on long-haul transportation companies.
You could broaden it out.
Yeah, we'll kind of broaden that out, right? So how do we optimize profitability? You know, one of the things that we do is we look at each company and then we assess where specifically they're faltering, where specifically do they need the help. You know, but if I may give one broad answer, is running more miles. You know, the cost of equipment is so high right now that you need a lot more miles to kind of spread that out. What we've seen is that companies that their equipment doesn't run, or that it doesn't get to above close to 9,000 miles per month, that equipment is marginally profitable. So meaning that there's a cost of that equipment that needs to be spread out over a certain amount of miles. That would be the most broad answer that I can give you. After that, it becomes lane optimizing, right? So some of the things that we see is that about 40% of the freight is unprofitable. So meaning that you have 60% of the freight that's actually pulling the other 40%. That some companies are making the wrong decisions. They're running just for the sake of running, and they're actually going to markets that are depressed, and they're actually not, that market is not particularly working. What's optimistic about that is that if you can get rid of that 40%, you have a much more healthier company, right? So that's kind of from a broad sense, that's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. So, considering the unique transnational geographic location, how does the dynamic cross-border trade between the United States, Mexico, and New Mexico specifically impact freight brokers? Again, this is for you, Victor, so you can broaden it now if you like.
Okay.
What specific challenges and opportunities do freight brokers face in this unique setting, and how can they leverage this for a competitive advantage?
Okay, before I answer that, I want to give you some very good advice I got last summer. And if you're eating, if you're on your phone, put it down, because this is MIT advice. Last summer, I was lucky enough to be working with the MIT Data Science Lab, you know, with Elon Musk and all these really smart people go to school. And when I was with the director, they took me out for dinner the last night, and I asked her, so Michelle, give me one advice. That's one advice that I can give to my daughter, right, that can help her go through life. And she said, Victor, it's very simple. Be like a dog. I like, okay, you're going to have to give me more. I'm not an MIT kind of person. Just give me more. I said, Victor, you're going to have to find the corner in the world that you like. And you have to be on it every day until the world knows that's your corner. When I came back, we started the center. And $12 million later, I can tell you we can find our corner, and we beat the heck out of that one every day.
Okay.
So if you want to survive, find that corner and be on it every day. And it's MIT advice, and it works. That's how I run my life. That's how my daughter runs her life. And life is good.
There's fluids in the back to get you started.
Yeah, there's a lot of tea, right?
That corner's mine, so.
So there's a lot of companies here. Everybody does a little bit of something, but find the one, not the one that is most profitable, not the one that you're gonna make more money, you're gonna make more friends, but the one that you like. Success will find you when you find that corner. Now, the specific to the question, there are a lot of challenges right now, but I think the biggest challenge is survival. Very few people is going to be able to grow in the next 2 years. So if I have one advice to you, survive. Survive the storm, and then it will pay off. If you see the big companies, Microsoft, Apple, they're weathering the storm right now. They're not launching too many products. I work with a lot of multinational companies. Right now, it's surviving mode. Do whatever you need to do, downsize, become lean, put money on R&D, a little bit of commercial. At New Mexico State, we have a supply chain center. We do a lot of private consulting for a tenth of what McKinsey would charge you, and understand what those pain points are and fix them. Otherwise, you won't survive the storm. So the focus is survive.
Okay, thank you. So, Duane, we've talked about this a little bit, but in today's fast evolving logistics landscape, adaptability is key to staying competitive. Could you share how you have adapted in strategies or operations to meet the changing demands of the market? Additionally, how do you ensure your team remains agile and responsive to the unforeseen challenges or shifts in the industry?
Adaptability. I think we listen to what our customers want. I think talking about what Victor was saying, if you do the same thing and that worked for you 10 years ago, don't expect for it to work for you today. So I think you adapt to what the customer is asking for you. I always say when you sit with the customer, listen. Do a lot more listening than you do talking. The shifts that I've seen here on the border, and I think everybody's experienced this, is that we've worked for a model where freight came over, offloaded in a warehouse in this area, and they got picked up by another truck and went to final destination. And that's what we saw 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years ago. And then we started moving the trailers across. And now that's been a model that's worked. And we're still doing that, but now we're getting a lot more requests to run it door to door. It's less of a headache for the customer. It puts some control back in the corporate office for people making decisions. Somebody lives in Indianapolis or Chicago or Detroit or whatever. They want that visibility where they didn't have it, where they had kind of moved over to the plants themselves, so we're seeing that communicate with your team. We did this deal about a year ago, and it was like, know your company. And by good grace of God, we got some different sites. So we took people over and saw what other people did, because if you have somebody in your company and this is their one function, and they're good at it, but they don't know how that function affects the other people in the same company. So, and I'll give it wasn't my idea, I wish it was. Somebody decided, hey, we're going to take these people in operations, dispatch, we're going to go live with customer service for a day so they can get that experience. So educating your people, let them know what's going on in the market, because there's a lot of people that, if you're pretty consistent on your paycheck, you're worried about your personal stuff, and you're not so worried about what's going on with your own company at times. So educate your own team. That's one. And then on adaptability, change. Whatever you're doing today, change it tomorrow, because you got to kind of stay in front. I'm a big believer in technology. That's why I'm a big believer in Aizen. I think this is going to change the manner how we operate. If you go back to the broker world, it's very much a PDF file, an email, a WhatsApp message, and we haven't really seen that change. We've seen the evolution. I've been around long enough to see it go from fax to PDF file. Some people miss the fax stage. That shows my age. But there's a better way to do business. And if we can create a better way to do business, then we are a better support to our clients.
So Duane can give us a really good perspective on the carrier and broker side, but now Jose, you can go on the other side of the table and give your input on this.
Well, I'm in the side like I'm a distributor. As a distributor, I utilize the services of all these elements, like getting service from them for freight, door to door, all that. I think it's very different. I have a lot of respect for their business, because for me, that business is very complex. It's very competitive, and I believe they are good because maybe they grow into that industry, so they know everything. They have a control everything. They have a great network, great relationships, and all that. And I believe that's key when you are about to create your business. Creating your business or your business model is something that you know about that you grow into that environment. For me, I specialize on distribution, but not in freight. Freight it's a different animal. It's very challenging as well as distribution as well. But my strategy is to try to partner up always with them and try to be friends with them, and also help them with other leads, with other guys that might need their services, and try to collaborate. I believe in this coming stage of business, everything is about collaboration and being more abundant on our mindset and not in the scarcity like, no, I have the secret formula for this and I will not share with that. I mean, look at all these guys, they work in the same, they have, I mean, they could be competitors, maybe they are, but they are so open to talk about, I mean, business, their relationships, connections, and everything. And I think that's a very good thing that is happening. It's changing little by little, and more in the Hispanic environment, that being open to collaborate, to help others. I mean, maybe it's not your business right now, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to send some business to other of your peers, because I mean, later on, I mean, it will be vice versa. So I believe the mindset of collaboration, it will be very key on this new wave. It's not something new. I mean, it's something that should be, I mean, a common practice, but I believe we are more aware about that practice right now. Like talking about that, just that's my point.
Okay, thank you. So, Ruben, this one's for you. So, how do you see the evolving regulatory environment in the U.S. impacting freight brokers in terms of compliance and operational costs?
Oh, yeah, give me the hard one, huh?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Maybe you guys did this already in the beginning, but how many freight brokers are here?
1, 2,
4?
4.
All right, the rest of you guys are carriers? Yeah, how many carriers are in the room?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right, that's interesting.
Get along here.
So we have a small freight brokerage division. It's not big. We primarily focus we're primarily carriers, but so that question is a little bit tough.
You can broaden it out a little bit also into like raw logistics, not just coverage.
So, for example, I'm just thinking one of the law that Governor Greg Abbott recently signed into law, where B1s could not pick up freight here, or in Texas rather, outside of any county that was not on the border. I think a lot of these guys that had authority to operate in the U.S. are now not operating in the U.S. because they're seeing their buddies' equipment getting taken away, or their leases getting taken away. And a lot of transportation companies who relied on these type of service from B1s, now they're out looking for more capacity because they can't use them anymore, right? And so, I mean, in terms of freight brokerage, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what regulatory policies are coming down where it could affect us. But if I may change the question a little bit.
Of course.
This title is Surviving the Freight Recession, and right now when José was talking, Duane was talking, well, everybody else, you don't prepare for a recession, whether you're a broker, whether you're a carrier, you don't prepare for the recession during the recession. You're prepared for a recession when things are good.
Right.
You know, that's when you foster relationships. That's when you take care of your clients. That's when you take care of your drivers. That's when you take care of your employees. That's when you do all these things when things are great, right? You don't spend money. You do, but you prepare for the recession when you're not in the recession, right? So when the recession comes, you can ride the wave. Because right now, like everybody was mentioning, it's a survival game right now. Like it's nasty out there, you know. And so I just wanted to say that. And then for the freight brokers, I know for those of you guys that are here, I know it's tough for you too, because it's like a love-hate relationship with freight brokers if you're a carrier. You sometimes love them, you sometimes hate them, and it's vice versa. So it's like Chico's Tacos, it's okay. You know? We're all gonna die, right? But I would say this to the freight brokers that are in the room, because we do that a little bit. We do some freight brokerage too. If you're a small freight brokerage company, what I would suggest you do is you partner up with so many times we see our competition. Like if Luis was my competition, I don't want to talk to him, right? I see him at the mall and I walk past him, or I don't look at him and stuff. During a recession, I should go up to him and be like, Luis, let's go get some coffee. You know, what are your struggles? What are you doing? How are you keeping up? Maybe even join forces. You know? No, you're like, no. And just think about it. Join forces. 2 is better than 1 in a recession. You know? That's what we're doing. We're doing co-brokerage agreements with people that before we never thought we would do. And now they're open to that. Bigger brokerages than us are now coming to us and saying, hey, do you guys have capacity in Mexico? Do you guys have capacity in the US? Do you guys have capacity in Canada? And we do. Whereas maybe my contacts, they're not the same as Duane's, right? And so maybe Duane, maybe Duane and I are going to partner up and be able to and maybe we're going to be able to partner up and make a client happy, you know. But oftentimes during a recession, we look at competition in a negative way, whereas you should see it in a positive way and leverage that competition to help you carry through the storm. And that's what I would say. I mean, regulatory items are always going to come down, you know. It doesn't matter, but as long as you're working, I would say, man, work ethically. You know, follow the rules. I mean, that is a must. If you want to establish long-term relationships, you know, relations that are going to grow, do things right. Do things right. Even if it's going to cost more. You know, don't cut corners. Just do it right. Clients respect that. Not all clients respect that. Some clients ask you to cut corners, but the clients worth having respect that. So that's what I would say. Not so much about the regulatory side, but maybe somebody else is smarter than me.
I have a question now that I have these guys here, experts on logistics and freight. I mean, huge guys, because I hear this a lot. In this current environment, let's say Derek sell his crypto and he make $100,000 and he say he just out of the school and he want to start a business. So what do you guys recommend for someone like him, I mean, young guy, in terms of with that amount of capital, and go to buy trucks and start, I mean, selling and hiring the drivers, all that, I mean, old school, or going to like a broker giving the service with just a laptop or something like that, or finding another business arena. What do you think about that?
What do you think, Duane?
If it's easy to get into, you're going to have a lot of competition. If there's barriers to entry, you can raise your margins. That's what I would say. If you have $100,000, you want to hold on to it, stay out trucking. The economy will come back, and when it comes back, then maybe that's the right investment. But you don't know what you don't know, you know, and you hear that. I mean, you get out of school, and I got a 24-year-old wonderful kid, and he knows everything, which is not a lot, okay? You got to gain experience in whatever industry you're going to be in, whether it be trucking, packaging, you know, teaching. You're comfortable in your own arena. And with the $100,000 and lack of experience, you're not going to be comfortable in that arena. You know, you need to find what you enjoy, 1 and 2, and then you make those decisions after you get that experience. But getting into whatever it's going to be, you just need to understand your market and, you know, how that business works.
And the reason why I'm asking this is because I receive several calls, not a lot, but several calls of people from other places that want to come here to El Paso, Juarez, and successful guys in other business arenas, but I don't know why everyone wants to buy trucks and start doing a logistic. I said, fuck, why? I said, maybe I'm in the wrong business, but I don't know. And they don't have experience on that, but they perceive that this area, will be rock and roll if you own some trucks and you start doing that. And unfortunately, it's not happening.
And I think that's why we're where we're at. Because we had a lot of people that had 100,000. 2021 was around and said, okay, can I get a truck? How much down? Give me $2,000 and a score of 720. You have a truck. Yes. And you have a business, right? So, and I think that's what happened. If you see a trajectory of authorities, right, of new authorities, from 2010 to 2020, it's pretty much stable. It's a very straight line. 119 authorities added every week. Now, I don't want to get this wrong, from August 2020 to September of 2022, how many authorities do you think were added weekly? 50? Oh wait, okay, so before it was 119. So now rates are going up. How many do you guys think?
200.
200? 1,000, you said?
10.
10? Okay.
You're wrong.
1,164.
A week.
A week. So what happens? So anyone that had a truck, anyone that had some money could get into the business, right? And that's what happened. Going back to what Omar was saying, 64,000 new authorities were added, right? And new authorities for people that did not have any experience, that did not know how to run a tight lane network, that were not looking at their variable costs, that were not, that should have been the right moment, like you're saying. You don't prepare to war when you go to war. You prepare to war when you're in time of peace, right? That should have been the time that you prepare and that you create a nice lane network, that you get your costs down, that you get lean, and you prepare for things in the future. But what happened was that didn't quite happen, right? So going back to your question about what business to start, in my opinion, I think that even in a recession, you can have a great business. You can create a great business. That's my personal opinion, right? But you have to have a competitive advantage. You have to be good at what you do. And if you're not, then you're just adding to the problem. Those are my 2 cents.
If I can complete the answer, most of the time a logic will say, oh, I have a great product, now I have to sell it, right? The reality is you need to start backwards. Start with the client, solve a problem for them, and then find the right way to execute and create a product that solves that problem. Otherwise, you're not going to solve a problem, and when you're not solving a problem, you're going to end up selling the pet rock, right, that they sell in the 80s, right? It's going to be 5 months of success, and then you're going to die. So find a problem that people is having and solve it.
Eventually, you're going to die.
So, yeah, you did it. I have one too, for nostalgic reasons, but it's a great example.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't know if you guys agree on this, but and it is not only on freight. In any industry, that's how entrepreneurship happens, right? Like, we believe that, okay, I'm good with cell phones, and a great guy selling cell phones. I want to start a business with cell phones, but creating a business, it's a different animal, right? It's not just knowing about cell phones or knowing about trucks, or because I have some money, it's a logistics town here, warehouses, maquilas, and man, rock and roll, truck, and I will be millionaire, right? Mm-hmm. And it happens a lot. It happens a lot, and unfortunately, the people ended up worse at the beginning that they started business, right? And it happens in every single, type of business.
Yeah, can I add something? Are you done? Yeah, I'm sorry. And I wanted to touch on a point that Luis made, is that these 1,000 authorities that are being added on a weekly basis, at the same time, since the beginning of this year, on average of 400 carriers were exiting the market every single week. For the entire for all this year, and they continue to exit the market. So part of this recession, there's a lot of reasons why we're in this recession, but one of the reasons is overcapacity. There's just too many Derek's out there with $100,000 wanting to enter the market. Where's Derek? Derek, we don't need more trucks, man. You're doing fine with crypto. Stay with crypto. Don't get any headaches. You'll make more money than us. And these 400 guys are exiting the market every single week. And if this happens, it's going to take about 5 years for the for all this excess capacity to get off. The next 5 years. So yeah, I mean, people always think about getting into trucking because you're going to make money. And most of these guys, I mean, trucking is good. It's good. It's a good business, right? But not during a recession.
You really finished us right there.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. Like, for example, right now, what can you do during a recession? Buy equipment. It's cheap, right? Yeah. It's cheap, and then rent it out. In the meantime, yes.
And I know where it's cheap. The Locals are running 200,000. The Kenworths are running 210,000. Yeah.
Well, maybe not 2023s, you know, buy something 2020, 2021, like something used, yeah, a couple of years old.
Yeah, but you run the risk of obtaining somebody else's power when it's for
I just purchased a truck, Dupenski, and it was real helpful because they offered like the extended warranties and all that, something that I think they didn't do back in the days.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that are, truck sales companies that are offering these warranties, extended warranties, I guess to ease the mind of the real owner operators. That's what made me dive in. You know, I was company man for years, and I said enough is enough. Got tired of making money for someone else, so I decided to make it for myself. But it got to that point where it took me a couple years to buy a truck because of that. Like, unless it's a new truck, I'm inheriting someone else's product. Word of advice, don't buy in auctions. That's probably the place where you don't want to buy a truck. Do your homework, you know, because at the end of the day, your truck is pretty much the heart and soul of your business. You know, once your truck goes down, that's it, you know. And if you don't have the capital to fix it, you exit the industry.
Yeah.
But let's not knock the used ones, but do your homework. You know, there is trucks out there that a lot of these companies, they're going to go, I don't know, into logistics. I know you guys probably sell their used equipment, and you're not getting rid of them because they're problematic. You're just upgrading. So that's a great opportunity for people like me that want to come into the industry and take advantage. That's a good way to go. Going to companies that you know that they did the maintenance on these trucks, we stayed up on them, opposed to where, you know, someone that just ran in and said, we can sit no more, I'm just going to go in and upload it's in the truck. That's my 2 cents on it.
You have any input, Luis? We're going to say something.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
But, I mean, going back to what you're saying, you know, going back to previously, we had a program financing owner-operators. And, you know, I was talking to a bank out of California. The biggest predictor of repo was whether or not they save for maintenance.
Yeah.
That was the biggest predictor. So, why? Because a truck over 500,000 miles is going to have a major breakdown, right? So, if you buy a truck, if you can start creating that escrow account, that savings account, and saying, okay, every mile, if you want to do it by mile, but by check, whatever, you know, you got to save up about 20 grand because something bad's going to happen to that truck eventually. And usually what happens is that if you don't save up enough, you know, something happens, you can't make the payments, and that truck gets repoed. But going back to what you're saying, it's not a matter of, you know, you might be buying used equipment, but having it in mind that, okay, something might happen in the future, or something will happen in the future. How do I save up, or how do I prepare myself for that major breakdown?
What's a good savings amount per truck, you think?
You know what?
I mean, you learn when you get the business. I remember, you know, I bought some used equipment when I first started years ago, and broke down in Tennessee, you know, and there's a $25,000 check or a bid. I wasn't ready for that. You know. We live in a capital-intensive business. You need to save, you know, save as much as you can. Decide what type of lifestyle you want to live, and live that lifestyle. And things get better. Like you talk about, the best way to prevent, you know, going broke in a recession is, you know, saving when it's not a recession. I think that has a lot to do with the longevity of the companies that you're going to see around in the future.
Okay, so I think everybody enjoyed, at least the pandemic. I think a lot of people did because of the money was going in. But you guys being in business, doing really well. When were you guys thinking like, man, I'm doing really good right now? When is this gonna end? Or
yeah. We did good for years. The trucking business was good for years and was consistent, you know. And you always got this little bird chirping, don't get comfortable, it's coming, you know. And so the pandemic, I mean, I don't know about y'all, I sat in my backyard going, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know. I'm gonna die, you know. And things went great. And when it went great, I think we were very happy, but we were very cautious because, I mean, trucking's this big pendulum, and I've been doing it for a couple of years, so it goes this way, and you're carrying, you're doing great. And then all of a sudden it eases, and all of a sudden, but we are so far on the other side where the benefit is to the customer, whether he's working with the broker, whether he's working with the carrier. And so it's I can tell you from a carrier standpoint, it feels somewhat abusive, but hold on. Because that pendulum's got to swing, and we're seeing it with the people exiting the market. So just hold on, it will come back. Okay.
If you want to be successful in the long run, I have a philosophy to live like you're poor, right? You know, not entirely, right? But if you want to keep a successful business in the long run, you can't enjoy the good times at 100%. You know, you always need that safety net. The reason that I was a little bit late was right now we were on the, you know, one of our owner operators was doing a load. His truck broke down in Atlanta. Terrible market, by the way. It broke down in Atlanta. It's the DOC box, $16,000. And he needs it replaced, right? Like, so if you don't have that, and you spent $25,000 years ago, so that's 3 years.
05, 06.
But you know, you need that type of either a good credit card or that type of money to be able to fix your truck and then keep on working. And the problem with a lot of owner operators or small carriers is that they're living day by day, like literally check by check. You know, they're taking quick pay. They're like, you need to pay me within 24 hours, otherwise I don't have money to put fuel. You know, and so that's a huge problem. That's part of the reason why 400 are exiting a day. But I'm more of the mindset of save as much as you can. Save as much as you can. Always keep your costs down. Run as lean as you can, and try to imitate, you know, large companies. Because oftentimes, yeah, it's easy. You start making money, and then you have all this disposable income now, right? Then what do? You buy a brand new Ford F-350 or F-450, 550, I don't know what, like the most expensive Ford that there is out there, you know? And then the recession comes, you're like, but I gotta buy a Sentra now, you know? So it's just.
It's not too complicated. There are two things that I was told years ago. The KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. You know, learn from the past. There's always the housing bubble. Learn from that one. Right now we're going to the trucking depression. Learn from that. Have good memory. I mean, we've been through how many recession bubbles in the past 10 years? Just have memory. There's money, save it. Save as much as you can, and you'll be fine. It's not that complicated. Just learn from the past mistakes, but always have a plan.
So at least you do this for a living. So what are problems you see trucking companies do, and how do you either fix it or just prevent them from continuing?
Just before we jump onto that subject,
Okay.
going back to your question, saying how much should they save?
Right.
The industry average is about 17% maintenance cost. Okay, for
Of revenue per year.
17 cents per mile.
Okay.
As according to the American Trucking Research Institute. Okay. Now, if you look at a regular company here in the region, it's about 7 cents, 8 cents. Why? Because it has many different factors, right? Before, equipment was older. Now equipment is being cycled off. Previously, equipment that was older gets reported in that particular report with a higher maintenance cost. But also what happens is this: it's newer equipment and you think, okay, this is my maintenance cost. No, it's not. It's not just 7 cents, it's 17 cents. But you gotta save up those 10 cents more, because eventually it's gonna get cut up, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you're running your books and saying, oh my God, we're doing great, our maintenance cost is like 7 cents, 8 cents. Well, maybe not, because you have not had a major, event happening. Something hasn't hit you yet, and that will raise up that maintenance expense. So actionable items, right? Even though you might think, okay, right now my maintenance cost is 7 cents, I would save up according to the industry, which is 17 cents, 19 cents. We save those additional 10 cents for something in the future. Now, going back to your question, what do we see, or how can we help them? Oh, man, I mean, every company is different, right? And a lot of times companies think, oh my God, it's fuel. That's what it is. If I can get fuel, under control, I'm gonna have, everything will be great. Everything's happening because fuel cost is so high. And then we run an analysis. It's not fuel. You know what, dude? You're paying twice as much for insurance than you should. Your lane network is all over the place.
Two highest costs in the industry is your fuel and tires.
Fuel and tire. Well, I mean, you have your pay, right? Your driver pay. You have your fuel, you have your insurance, you have tires, you have tolls, you have GPS and equipment. You have all those different variable costs. That sometimes whenever younger companies, or companies that they don't have that much experience, they think, okay, man, how much am I paying the driver? Okay, how much am I paying the fuel? All right, yeah, that should cover it. Well, that's not it. There's a lot more variable costs tied into the mix. So what do we see? It's different, right? Some of them, they have newer equipment, and that equipment is very, very expensive. So you gotta allocate more miles to that equipment. So it becomes a utilization problem. Meaning that, what you gotta concentrate is running more miles so you can pay for that equipment. Some of it, they might have older equipment, but they have a very unstructured lane network, and they're running to the wrong markets. Some of it might be in fuel expense too. Some of them, they let their drivers fuel whatever they want, and drivers are not very price conscious sometimes. So it's a mixture of things.
Okay.
But I guess the main thing would be, if there's anything that you can do, or anything that you can get out of this talk, is you gotta know your direct variable expenses, right? You gotta know that, and you gotta quantify that, and then you gotta know, okay, if this is how much it costs me per mile to operate, and if I'm getting this much per mile, am I gonna make money, or am I not gonna make money? That's gotta be my advice.
So Jose, for you as a shipper, were you struggling at the pandemic with capacity?
No, I was actually one of the best years ever for my company, 2021.
Okay.
And then after that, it drops a lot. And right now, it's picking up. But I want to add something like, don't be so concerned about the recession or what's coming in the economy, blah, blah, blah. Because it could be a good season. You can be like 2017, I was doing great. And then suddenly one of my customers filed for bankruptcy. So I lost $1 million overnight. Cash flow, everything. I almost shut down my company because it hurt me so much. It was a good season, right? It was a good, I mean, nothing in the news about recession and all that. So be more worried about your current customers, how they act, listen to them, I mean, watch on them, I mean, really take care of a deep dive into your current operation with your current customers, and don't worry about, I mean, you have to be worried about external, but don't put more attention in what's going on right now with your actual and your current customers, because, I mean, you can be on recession, but making it, I mean, crazy good, and it could be a good season for everyone, and you can be on your wings. It's more about watch out or your current business, what's going on with your current business.
Okay. Oh, thank you. So, Luis, you mentioned that the main cost of any driving thing is a driver. So, this is a question for all of you, if you have input on it. How do you, given the recent increase in driver salaries, how does your company do the balancing to attract skilled talent but not overpaying so you're so profitable?
I think you create an environment that's beneficial for the driver. You know, you make sure the truck is in good condition. You make sure if he makes a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody's going to answer, somebody will respond to it. I mean, it's just like going to a restaurant. Everybody sells a hamburger. What's your best experience? So the same way we want to view client experience, you want to have a good driver experience. The market's going to dictate what the pay is. I don't think there's any one company that says this is what we're paying drivers. I think the market and the demand will do it. You know, I was talking to Daryl, and we're not seeing a lot of driver increases at this point in time. But I think the things that we can control to create that loyalty with is communication. Take the phone call, listen to them, find out what the problems are, resolve them quickly, and then that retasking for a long period of time.
Any other input or tips?
Yeah, well, for us is whenever we have a posting, and so we haven't experienced any increases in salary in drivers where they could ask a lot, but like you said, it's at the end of the day, it's dictated by the market. So whenever we do, and right now the power to negotiate is not on the table of the driver, is on the table of the carrier, the one hiring. Whenever we have an opening, we typically have about 15 or 20 drivers apply. And so, you know, we narrow it down to the ones that we're going to interview, and then once we interview them, we're very specific in asking why they're either unhappy where they're at, why they're looking to change, what they didn't like at their previous company. And there seems, you start seeing trends that all these drivers have, the reasons why they don't like other companies or why they want to change, why they're looking for these changes. And so
pay isn't usually the main issue?
Not right now.
No. Okay.
No, pay is not an issue. Yeah. No, a lot of guys, we just had one last week, this guy telling us, you know, I'm with this transportation company and they owe me $6,000. They still want me to keep driving and they haven't paid me. You know, and he's just looking for something else. But that's typical. You know, we have a lot of drivers come and say to me, you know, they're just not paying me, because even transportation companies, they can't pay their own drivers, right? That's how bad the recession is. But we start to implement different programs to make sure that the new drivers stay on board, because at the end of the day, you want the driver to be happy to the extent that you can, right? You can't give them everything because we're not McDonald's either, but you want them happy because they're going to take care of your truck.
Right.
If they take care of your truck, you're in business, right? Because if they're not happy, if you're not paying them, if you're leaving them wherever you're not bringing them back, or a lot of drivers, what they say is that, well, right now they're not. I can't spend important days with my family, birthdays or anniversaries, and we do. We just ask 2-3 weeks in advance. Let me know where you're going to be, when you want those days. We'll make sure that you're home. Why? Because it's important. These guys spend 1-2 weeks out on the road, and the least that you can do is, if they ask you for, can I be home for my anniversary? Yes, of course, be home for your anniversary. You're not gonna go out of business if you bring them back home for their anniversary. So, and we try to make it a family-oriented atmosphere too. My wife gets mad at me. She says I consejería, how do you say that in English?
Council.
Yeah. Council.
I think as a psychologist.
There you go. Yeah. Except those guys get paid really good. I know. And I'm always on the phone with these guys, because they have time to talk and they want to talk to you. So that's like part of my job, is to talk to these guys during the day and hear their problems, and and give some advice. And
can we put your hotline on the screen?
Ruben, I'm gonna put you on.
If you're not one of my employees, I charge. Okay, charge. But yeah, I mean, this is you have to take care of your people.
Right.
Not to brag, but a lot of the guys that do leave our companies, because we sometimes we can't compete with you, right? And so they're like, well, they're going to pay me 5 cents more over here per mile or whatever. It's like, man, good luck, good luck. And oftentimes they come back. Hey, will you take me back? And it's like, man, right? I can't right now, but grass is not always greener on the other side. Oftentimes what drivers value more than anything is that you value them as a driver, because these guys often feel used when you don't pay them, when you don't bring them back on time, when you tell them, well, I'm going to bring you back on Friday, and Friday comes and there's no load and you don't bring them back. So keep your word, right? Keep your word. Eat the cost to bring them back, That's how they're going to believe in you, right? So for me is valuing the work that they do, because they're the ones driving the truck.
Yeah, clear. Well, thank you for that, Ruben. So now we want you guys to answer any questions you have to these distinguished analysts. So, questions? Come on, you have questions. Judith.
One of the things we do as an internal marketing effort at our brokerage is we routinely survey our carrier network. That's a bit more, but one of the particular areas of interest for us to try to focus on, and the efforts so far have been we're trying to dial in both what a carrier's cost of doing business is, also trying to find ways to guide them towards resources to help them understand it too, to kind of like, it's not me telling you what it costs for you to do your business. It's helping you understand, we've talked about it already on this panel, about what it costs to exist as a carrier in today's reality. And I get answers. Some guys will put out the cost per mile, or just the overall profit on top of a load, and you get some that seem dialed in and others that seem far-fetched. So the problem is I still feel like we're struggling for a sense of understanding. So are there things you guys do or have done or would recommend to ask the sorts of questions about what it costs you to do, so that it goes, because as a broker too, and speaking as a broker, we're not always thought of as fondly in the eyes of a driver, and I understand it. So it's also understanding where the message is coming from is important for these efforts as well. So yeah, how can I help drivers, help me and them understand what we need to do?
I think there's a very simple solution, is that they hire me, and and that's it.
What seems so far my efforts aren't working. So,
but I mean it's so complicated. It's so complicated because you have a model that has, if you do it per mile, right? You have a model that has fixed variable costs and variable costs that are direct variable costs, and then you have indirect variable costs, and it's just a complicated model. For instance, I'm going to give you an example. Well, how much is my cost of equipment? Well, if your equipment is $3,000, And if you run 9,000 miles, well, then that's about 33 cents. But if you run 6,000 miles, that's about 50 cents. So, you know, it depends on how many miles you run. And to me, it doesn't make sense. You know, people say, well, as long as I get this much rate. Well, but dude, where are you going? Okay, you get this much rate for this segment, but then you land on this bad market. How many miles are you gonna deadhead to another bad market to get out of there, and then maybe they head back, or you're gonna you're gonna go to another worse market because you made that decision, right? Because you initially thought, okay, I'm gonna make some money going into this market. It's a complicated question with a complicated answer. Or maybe you guys have a...
The answer is it changes every day.
Yeah, that's kind of, and that's what makes it, you guys are both females, so that's right. That's kind of where I'm at a loss. It's like, but the idea I had yesterday is now useless today. It leaves you enough time. I'm trying to figure out how to, you know, put some things together.
ChatGPT it.
We wrote about, you know, it's in something that's a major effort of ours, and then also complicated by the fact that we have a multimodal freight division and a finished vehicle division. So the cars are more modular, but 8-9 cars in a hauler versus a partial truckload, you know, full truckload, and everything else in each of their outpatient stuff. So it's also complicated by that dynamic, because we have carriers who have different capabilities of some, you know, both for us. I'll just do one or the other, you know, and it's something that we kind of dive in with the case.
Then, any more questions, or what after? Give it another shot. You got your money.
Well, exactly what Luis is saying. I mean, we've done the same thing where you dial down insurance, driver, fuel, maintenance, facilities, people, blah, blah, blah. It goes up and down. And I've heard this from people internally, well, what do you want for the rate from us? There is no set answer, and that will change on a daily basis. We saw back, I don't know who experienced, well, people in transportation experienced, and we had, what was it, September 17th when the border slowed. Y'all remember this? Yeah, it was good times. You know, I mean, that changes demand in the market real quick. You know, so, you know, on the Mexican side, the one driver that used to be able to do 6 stand crossings in 48 hours is doing 1. You know, there's your supply and demand, economic module, it just is off the chart. So that also affected the trucking side, and therefore, you know, it's going to affect your cost to do business. And that's that change.
Up to you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Earlier you mentioned that you guys use a program. What was the name of that program?
It's called Freight Network IQ.
Freight Network IQ. Now, is that open to the public, or that's something you business?
That's something that we provide.
There's a special going on today, right, for people?
25% off.
And Black Friday.
Black Friday.
Still going on.
Me too. Don't be shy, guys. More questions?
So we do insurance, your transportation, and there's a lot of what you're writing that, but since they're heavily tied, each company is up its weight. Do you guys also have find out with like terrorism in the case of insurance? One of like ideas find out belly dream comes.
For us, we plan for it. I mean, we keep a lot of data that goes back, and so when we sit down with an underwriting group, we say, okay, this is what we did for the last 2 years. These are the actions that we've efforted in the last 12 months in order to reduce our risk with you.
Means get the need. Say you're feeding.
Absolutely.
Just get us back up.
I guess from distribution to developing to weakness areas, like where do you guys see some gaps that can be breached by technology?
Oh, I'll take that one. Especially in the short distance. I was doing some reading yesterday. Between 0 and 240 miles, that's where you make 60% of all the revenue in your business. We are working, I say we, because I'm part of that study. We are testing drones that can carry up to a ton to fly unmanned vehicles, electric, that I can fly from Mexico to Santa Teresa or to the spaceport in 20 minutes. Of things that really need to get there. you can clear customs at the spaceport. They already have the custom people 5 miles away. So that's where technology is going to come into place. Now, there is a spaceport network that is being built right now across the world. When it's going to take a kidney 30 minutes to get from New York, well, I guess not New York, but from the spaceport here to Korea in 2 hours. And right now, if you have a kidney problem or a heart problem, there's kidneys and hearts being pricked in 3D in space. When you bring them down, then you need to move fast. So that's where technology is going to change. So now the self-driven trucks, I don't see it happening in the next 20 years. I just don't. People is too scared of it. So I don't see that happening, but drone technology is going to take over really quick.
Okay. So on the driver, you don't see it because of the regulatory challenges, or is it because?
Oh, it's the people perceptions. I was having dinner with the CEO of Starbucks a couple of weeks ago. 3 years ago, they developed a program that as soon as you walk into Starbucks, it will say, "Hey, Victor, how are you doing today? You want another latte?" People didn't like it. It was freaking them out because they were like, "How do you know my name? How do you know what I like?" You know, it was freaky. Same thing happened to Delta. They were just boarding with your, they call it something ID, and people just didn't like it. So it's really hard for humans to adapt to the technology that is already existing, but it's coming. Now, get used to seeing trucks on the road with no people behind the wheels. That's going to take some time. And on top of that, what happens when they break down, right? Somebody's going to get there, and it better be a human to fix it. So that's going to take a long time to adapt. But moving, point A to point B with drones and space rockets is going to happen sooner than you think.
I don't know if it about software rather than like so very what vehicles and about software. Is there any team that you guys see that grit, that going with technology and just instead of thing buffer?
Technology-wise, I'd use every option. Any chance you get to use technology, I would use it. I think it makes you better. I think it makes you more competitive. I'd use it. I was going to go back on the AI and self-driving vehicles. I think one of the questions I have is, who do you sue?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't train the driver. It's a computer, right? So do I sue Microsoft? I'm not going to win that for people.
How do you get the, I think it would be a question for the insurance carriers. Mm-hmm. How do you insure those safely, drivers?
It's very difficult to choose. I mean, right now, like Elon Musk, a lot of that software is with protections available to those people already, and you think they're going to give those up? That chance. I mean, that's going to be very difficult. Like he was saying, to the middle on the road, if it's going to be a bad accident, they're going to change the door. You have to have those investments, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead of time. People aren't willing to about that kind of money. I think they know those environments, because little litigious environments, and there's a lawyer, there's a billboard on the highway right now, $168 million get up against bad accident. Now, I know the lawyer who did it, and that's great that he won that kind of money, but who can afford that? And that time is 10 a day. I don't know how you guys start insuring that. He goes active, you go sue. You're never going to win against that.
You sue the programmer because someone has to make the decision. Yeah. Either you kill the couple with a baby, or you kill the old lady with straw. Like, someone has to make that decision as you are programming that software. So if you're going to have to sue someone, it's going to have to be the programmer. If you go to the moral machine at MIT, there's an open software when you can make those decisions, and they're saving those to create that moral decision of where you're going to kill the 3 dogs or the baby or, the man with a suitcase. Because those are moral decisions that someone is going to have to make. Because at some point, you're going to have to kill someone. So.
Just speaking of software here.
Don't get
I want to know what my liabilities are here.
Anyone carry general liability?
So it's a more complex process. Sue and engineer. Right? We were talking about teams of 2,000 engineers and both going at juries. Tons of cycles that run into those. So I think it's a more complex problem than just that guy.
Well, that company, whoever is in charge of writing it,
sure,
that's the person.
But I understand what you're saying, but I think at a certain point, though, it becomes such a almost like a systemic problem right? It reaches out to every industry. These problems that get sewn in because so many tools are interfacing, that so many processes are passed over, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I'm interested to hear your answer because automation and AI and these running trees from and it's going to become more prevalent. So, yeah, we take responsibility.
Well, it's happening. The problem is we don't want to know who's doing it. If you put a radar right now in the border, you're going to have 500 drones at any given time. I know because we did it. Now, those drones right now are carrying drugs from Mexico to the USA, whatever days goes back. So what you need, because it's happening right now, that trading is happening. It's the black market, but it is happening. So you wanna open it on a fair game and then put more eyes in the sky so we can take advantage of the kind of economic development, trust that kind of economy, but it's already happening.
But I think for what I've seen, the fear is kind of overblown, it's overinflated. But really, I've seen automated trucking that actually is safe. We're always seeing bars you can put into a house, right? And when you think about airplanes, right? You think that pilots actually fly the whole cloud? Absolutely nothing. This has been automated for decades. So it's just that people on the ground are afraid of the idea of making trucking safer. Let's take them drive around. Oh, you want to see somebody so you can do this with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a fear that we overinflate because it's new to us.
No, then you go to the Boeing. I don't know if you have seen the Boeing Netflix series about one line of code killed, I think, like 600 people. So it is safer to a point,
yeah.
But they take the ability of the pilot to make that correction in the air. So when you take the ability of the pilot to remove that mistake from the air, that's when accidents happen, and really bad accidents.
Yeah.
One life is too many, in my opinion.
Before the degree of company that outsources its software development, what Boeing, right? I mean, that was passed, does take down for 3 times.
Yep.
And so I think it has a little bit more to do with, you know, who's making the choices for this development process, right? Which we get at because I'm an industry then. So I think we share that development lots of times. You made a good point just now. It's more bit safer. It is. Like, lots of times, these processes that developers create more accurate, safer, but the ethical dilemma is where does that person evolve? Right? They can't have it out to the size of a line code or Trump that's just driving itself into us. Who we want is.
And I think the number one example that we keep using over here on our legal, this is always going to have like litmus testing. You guys are all worried about those automated drone strikes that like they use in certain areas. But who totally gets in trouble like the civilians killed is the exact same argument that we use for armed or unmanned trucking. So the solution actually already out there. It's just because we're afraid to use it in the industry and acting like that we need problems. They can already solve things.
Okay. Well, guys, that's it. Thank you for coming. See you later. Okay, we're going to do a demo after this, but please round of applause for all our panelists. Thank you very much, guys. And thank you all for being here. Now we're going to show you what AizenFlow is. Okay?